Hello and welcome, everyone. I am Brian Smith, bringing you another prospect profile today. As you can see, scrolling across the screen here, Dalen Russell, Columbus High School, Miami, Florida. This is an edge defender that many people probably don't know about, but they should. Here's why. Despite his recruiting rankings, and I'll try to get him up here on the screen in just a second, you're talking about a player that has the ability to set the edge, to rush the passer, to chase from behind, to play from a team first scheme. I know that's boring is all get out, but that's what he does. And most importantly, with him, he does it consistently. Coaches love it, fans want excitement, but he's the guy that it ends up being second and 8, second and 9 over and over again against the run. And when you can play the run as an edge guy, again, I know it's boring. Too bad. It's how football's won. You got to be able to set the edge and contain. Boring, but efficient. This is what he does, and it is so consistent. It was really hard to grade his film. So, with that being stated, you're talking about a kid that's 6'1, 6'2, 235 pounds or so when he played his junior year. I've been told, I haven't met him, but I've been told that he's 250, give or take, now in the spring of 2023 as I do this video. Russell's ability to play at that weight, I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but I have people that I know and trust that have, and it's part of the maturation process anyway. Kids just get bigger, faster, stronger. He's at a size now as an outside linebacker in a 3-4 setting, and I'm going to talk a ton about it, and it gets techie. There's no friendly way to do this. If you're not somebody that likes scheme and all that, this probably won't be your favorite video, but it's the only way to evaluate him because he's not a kill it guy downhill going 100 mile an hour. Their scheme does not allow for that. It is 100% about team concept, and that's why it's so hard to grade him. So I'm going to share my screen here, present the most important part, and that would be Daylen Russell. All right. Now, if you see here, Dalen on 3, 142nd player at the D-line spot, 247, 106th. At least Rivals has him 34th, but he doesn't have just one position. So I'm not really sure how we're supposed to really even kind of get a true gauge of what's going on with him. He plays outside linebacker, to be honest, more than anything. So this is more projection. I think we should talk about that. It's more projection with him, and that's fine. But again, at 250, he could put his hand in the dirt. Why not? And be a guy that ends up playing a lot of different spots, and makes it happen. So I'm not really sure if everybody looks at him in a totality standpoint, because he can play flex, meaning get in a 3-point stance and come off the edge in a 4-3 if that's what you want to run. But if you want to play even in part a 3-3-5 stack, a 3-4, again, I know this is techie, but it's how you evaluate a unique player like this. He can play all of those. I wish there was a simple way to explain him to somebody, but there's just not. So with that being stated, Daylen Russell is a kid that I'm excited about, but I don't think that anybody really understands just what he can do without seeing him live. And that includes myself. I need to go see him too. Hopefully I can see one of their games this season and figure it out for myself. But looking at those rankings, I mean, there's nobody on that list. Not one person on that list has him ranked probably where they should be. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'm going to project that once his senior film, and more people go see senior prospects anyway, once more people see him, there won't be anybody that has him in the hundreds, and there could be several of them have him in the top 50. But it does take a full-on deep dive projection to do it. Now, if he starts taking visits later in the season or something like that, whatever, and it's more exciting and more schools are interested in. That'll also influence a lot of different teams in terms of what they want to do with him. That's obvious, and that could also change what the recruiting rankings are. So with that being said, I'm going to switch it now. We're going to go to one other guy, and that's the huddle. This without huddle, I don't know what I would do, but so props to them. Here's Dalen Russell's huddle film, and I let it roll a little bit to get into it just a little bit. But note again, this is a kid that sets the edge. He's very fundamentally sound. So here we go with that. All right. Dalen's huddle is very impressive to me in the sense that you're just going to get the same consistency over and over again. And he finds his way to the ball carrier through the trash. He fends off guys with his feet and his hands, honestly. Watch him here. Doesn't come downhill too fast. Makes a very quick decision and adjusts. He can get outside on this one, so he continues, but he had to retrace a couple of steps there. He's okay with it. He makes the play. Now, that's one of the rare plays for Dalen when he's actually just playing that bend the edge, I'm coming after you guy. But he can do that more than what he's going to show because, again, this is a pretty conservative scheme because they have so many good players. As long as everybody's in a gap with their talent at Columbus, they're going to be really hard to stop. It's been the same thing over and over and over for them. I don't think that's going to change much. All right. On this play, you see him. He's the closest stand-up in. He takes an inside move, gets his hands on the guy, doesn't finish him right away. That's something he should have wrapped up. But he stayed home. And what I mean by that is he didn't overrun the play. Some guys let the running back go right by them. Here's a unique play where he's in a down position. See how he squatted down, read the play, then went lateral to the line of scrimmage? Excellent job by Daylen Russell. Another position, outside leverage on the edge in a 2-point stance, fends off the guy, holds him, then jumps back inside, scrapes, causes a fumble. That is technically as good as it's going to get. In a 3-point stance, Russell here holds his ground, looks down the line of scrimmage. Again, he doesn't overcommit. This is scheme-oriented football. This is something like the New York Giants used to run under Parcells. This is something the old-school Alabama defenses used to do. They overwhelm you with size and power, and then they just coach them to death. I mean, these guys are really well coached at Columbus. Great inside move right there. That right there, my friends, is what it's all about. This play here, power rush. So he mixes it up. He's shown inside, he's shown outside, and he's shown power, and he's shown the ability to just feather a play down the line of scrimmage, then commit when he gets close. Look at there again. Doesn't let the guy get outside. He gets close to him. He attacks the football, makes the play in the backfield. One last play here. Then I'm going to talk about Daylen Russell from a broader perspective, what he can bring, whether he plays in a 4-3 or a 3-4. This one, again, in a 3-point stance, which I find unique. This is more of a bear look, aggressive. He just holds the point of attack in a 2-gap scheme. So what can he do for a team now that he's about 250? That's really the big question. Daylen Russell is not somebody that's just 300 pounds and just throwing guys out of the way. But he uses his hands, and he'll set the edge, and he'll look. That's a 2-gap like the play I just ended with. He also finds a way to make plays when he's chasing from behind, but he doesn't waste steps. He gets into the backfield by quickly defeating his opposition, reads it, breaks down, and takes the most direct path. That sounds about as boring as it can get. He's not the guy that's just a raw athlete. He figured it out. No, he's the technical athlete that did what the coach told him to do. He will be as fundamentally sound as any edge guy that comes into college football in 2024 because he played at Columbus. All the guys around him, Capers and some other guys they've got, They're all good football players. And even the kids that aren't Power 5, they make an impact because, again, scheme, scheme, scheme. They buy into it. That's why they're also a team that ends up going into the playoffs and making a run more often than not. Columbus is a machine. If you don't buy into your scheme, though, especially at the collegiate and then, of course, the NFL level, you're done. He's going to be able to adapt more. He's proven that he's a mature kid. So that's the first thing that he brings. And let's talk about that right now. What does he bring? Best attributes is the big play. There are plays where he knocked the ball from behind. I watched like a gazillion clips of him. He'll make the clutch play. You're getting ready to score. He'll knock the ball loose. He'll drag a guy down when it just looks like he's going to hit the hole and get through. He'll be the last man on the edge. And all you got to do is get by Daylen, and then you have green grass. Sets the edge, holds off the guy, waits for the cavalry to come, corrals him, holds his ground, does not overcommit. His stats would be higher if he was more aggressive, but he wouldn't be as effective. It's extremely rare to even say that out loud. Being less aggressive in this case, in their scheme, is often more impactful. Not every play, but a lot of the time. He holds his ground when you got one of those 165-pound guys on a jet sweep, on a toss sweep or something. He'll feather out the play. Backside pursuit's coming. Again, it's boring as all get out, but it's 2nd down and 10 instead of the team scoring a touchdown. It's just the way it is. It's not highlight reel style football. He is an old school, traditional outside linebacker. In 1985, he would have stayed at linebacker and been the strong side backer his whole career. He reminds me, like the way he plays reminds me of Carl Banks that played for the New York Giants back in the day. That'd be the comparison I would use. I'm not saying he's Carl Banks. He was tremendous, but that's the style that he is. So big plays are there, and he consistently does it. It's incredible. The one attribute that I found interesting on him, and this is, random when you get to see this because of their scheme. There were plays where Daylen would shoot around the end, and then he would take off because the ball was just completely going the opposite side of him. When the ball snapped, you don't know where it's going. And he had open field speed. I only got to see it a few times, though, because their scheme is set in a sense they just want to corral everybody. And when he took off, he could really run. I'm curious to see what Daylen looks like this fall with an extra 15, 20 pounds on his frame. I assume he's going to be in the 250, 255 range. Again, I haven't seen him this spring, so I don't know. I saw him last year, but he was 225, 230 at that point in the spring. It's a year ago. It's irrelevant. I'm curious to see what he can do. The final point about him, and this is the one I'm just changing down at the bottom. I don't even know the full complexity of this. And whatever defensive line coaches, defensive coordinators he works with throughout his career will probably have different opinions. Dalen Russell can play stand-up edge, 2-point stance in a 3-man line with the fourth guy kind of being standing up. He can do that. He was in a 50 front, what they call a double eagle, like Georgia ran that against Alabama a couple of years ago in the finals when they tried to get more pressure on the quarterback because Alabama was a passing team and they wanted to rush the passer a little bit. They do some of that at Columbus. He could be in that because he can come off the edge and bend. But he also showed a number of times in a 3-man line, he was playing somewhere in the guard tackle area to try to shoot a gap or at least 2-gap a little bit. Now, at 250, he's not 2-gapping against a 325-pound offensive guard in college football. Let's be honest. That's not realistic. But he can at least blitz and then feather out and do different things similar to a linebacker. And then finally, in a 4-3, you could move him all over the place, whether it's head up, outside, or inside shade, and be a defensive end. He is the most complex kid I remotely tried to even begin to break down. Again, if I had my druthers, I'd rather see kids live, and I haven't seen him. But he's the only kid I can think of in a long time that the following I find to be true. And it would help me validate the last point I got rolling across the screen a minute ago about his speed. I'd like to see a linebacker coach work with him where they point the ball, he goes back, he goes forward, moving, because it's just about exploit. There's zero with scheme there. It's just, can you move and can you change direction and let's have him then do some one-on-ones with the running back, etc. If he can drop in coverage, I have no idea if he can. Zero idea. You got to see that a gazillion times because that is all, again, that's technique stuff. But if you don't have a certain amount of speed, forget it. I'm assuming the way I saw him run a handful of times that he can, but now he's bigger. That extra 20 pounds of bulk is going to help him against the run, no question. But in open field situations, or when you play a 4 and 5 wide team that comes out with 2 slots, and I mean pure, annoying, speedy slots, 5'9", 160 kids, and the running back's 5'11", 180, he's going to be one-on-one with somebody at some point, either running play, passing play, screen, maybe a combination of those that try to get guys in space that are way different in size. How does he handle that? Those are the final points that we're just not going to know until he gets to college. It's what every edge guy has to go through. You can see it a little bit through scouting them at the high school level and through camps and combines. And I could have the greatest outside linebacker coach or edge defender. I mean, like if Jason Taylor, who's at the University of Miami now, was doing, he's only still going to see so much because it's different when you got a college guy in front of you that runs a legit 4.4 and has been through like 3 years of a college weight training program and can put that stiff arm on you. That's the thing that I still want to see with him. But right now, I would rank him a low 4-star kid with elite upside if he plays in a scheme that is multiple. Multiple. If he's in a one-trick pony scheme, I don't think you're doing him any justice. Some guys are really picky about just being mundane. And it has its benefits to a degree. For instance, Iowa, they run a cover 2 scheme. And for the longest time, they get no 5-star kids. But if I remember correctly, they were in the top 5 in the league for the NFL in defensive backs without any 5-stars because their coaching was so elite. They can coach, but they ran one thing. That doesn't mean that works for everybody. Any team that can run a combination of a 3-4 or 3-3-5, they're probably going to do a better job with him. And then everybody's got a 4-3 package, basically, the NASCAR package, where you just send the dogs after the quarterback on 3rd and 11. He's going to be that guy. He's got the speed to do that with a combination of his power too. So I like Daylen Russell a lot. I just need to see more of him to get a better gauge. But for right now, I would rank him a 4-star prospect, and I wouldn't have any problem doing it. It's just how good can he be utilized long term. So please hit the like notification. I love doing these podcasts. I love talking about prospects, getting a little techie sometimes. Share this podcast, subscribe, and I'll be back again. Brian Smith, FB Scout _Florida. Find me on Twitter. Everybody have a great day.